This is what you want. This is what you get. This is what you
You have located Geekfest Rants, the entertainment podcast for genre geeks like you.
Shall we play a game?
Covering the world of vintage and current film and television since 2010.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Featuring in-depth conversations on sci-fi, horror, fantasy, comics, toys, and conventions.
So say we all. So say we all.
And now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show.
I'm Stan Lee. I've been writing stories for the young generation for the past 30 years. During this time, I think I've learned a lot about what young people think. More importantly, I think I've learned a lot about what young people are. We're going to try to present a voice that somebody will listen to. The voice is needed. We hope it will be ours.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Mr. Stan Lee. Stan was doing one of his panels, and they asked me to come up and just say hi to him. I felt a little goofy, but I came up, I shook his hand. I think the microphone caught it, but I whispered in his ear. I said, hey, they just wanted me to come up here and shake your hand, but while I'm up here, I want to say thank you. You saved my life. Because the life that I have today, there's a direct line to that first comic book to here.
Well, Stan's best creation was always Stan. As a creative figure is one thing. Stan, as a personality, was able to somehow tap into his own larger-than-life, self-effacing and self-aggrandizing at the same time personality.
As I would describe it, that P.T. Barnum aspect of him, it's just something he infused the group with, and it's something that the people who followed him have been able to kind of keep that energy going.
I think Stan Lee is going to be an icon, what he represents, what he was able to accomplish. He built American mythology because stories are really what stay with us.
Those characters that he created and what he infused Marvel, the brand, with have always shown through.
Even if they have superpower, they have to be believable. What they do has to be what any normal person would do in those situations.
And the idea that he championed all kinds of different voices, all kinds of points of view, and the concept of diversity and equality and conversations about, social politics, all these things he had been doing for years. And now it's at the forefront of everything that we talk about.
I just think he was just connected in that way, and he was connected to who his true audience was and who he was really writing for.
He complemented that with always being hopeful, with his own first-person personality of being Stan.
My earliest memories of Stan were reading those soapboxes. You felt like he was talking directly to you and no one else. What I didn't realize was that there was a kid behind me at the candy store reading the same thing, feeling the exact same way.
His ideology was very clear. It was very black and white, how to be good, how to treat people equally. And that's a really powerful impact, to lean into the light as much as you can, even if there's darkness all around you.
In writing the soapboxes, I used to just talk to the readers, anything that came to my mind, just to make the books not seem like something cold and aloof and it's something you buy and you throw away. I wanted them to feel buying a Marvel book was like visiting an old friend. Without that,
We wouldn't be experiencing the success we had today.
People like that, creative geniuses like that, you can't help but walk away learning lessons. They have a way of delivering messages that, just resonate with those of us who have followed his work and followed the characters he's created.
He made it feel intimate and that anybody could belong to it. We're really lucky to have him really define us, because it's really given us something to move forward with.
There will never be a world without Stan Lee. He's the heart of the Marvel Universe.
Hi everybody, and welcome once again to Geekfest Rants. My name is Carlos Perone, and today I am going to have my son Kyle joining me to talk about Marvel, specifically the announcements we recently heard from San Diego Comic-Con. This is that meeting we've been waiting for, that presentation that happens every now and then where they give you a full slate of movies and what the plan is intended to be of how they're going to roll out the next phase, of Marvel, MCU entertainment. And this time around, things are looking a little different. Plus, we're going to also look at some other properties that we're also kind of looking forward to. So let's get started with Marvel at San Diego Comic-Con.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special news bulletin direct via satellite from our on-the-spot task force.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Thank you, Bob.
It's Mort.
Mark, yes. I am Ted Baxter, and here is the news.
Okay, we're here with Kyle today, and we are going to go over a little bit of the comic book related things that interests us. Keep in mind, there's way more out there than what we're going to talk about, but we want to focus on some things that we kind of like to follow. Obviously, the big, gigantic one is Marvel, and then Kyle's going to have a couple of extra, I don't know, I guess we can call them bonus news of other comic book related subjects. But let's begin with Marvel, because as far as we know, Spider-Man Far From Home, the last one we just saw, was the official end of Phase 3, which is kind of weird to me because it is not entirely Marvel. This is the Sony-Marvel partnership, but that's how they kind of chose to end the third part. It really ends with Endgame, if you really think about it, because Spider-Man is really the aftermath in a way. It deals with some of the items and some of the issues, left over from Endgame. So that was kind of like the end of everything as far as where we are with the stories. They purposely, in previous Comic-Cons or whatever, New York Comic-Con, San Diego, whatever, Disney-related events, they wouldn't go any further. They wouldn't tell us any more. They wouldn't preview anything new because they kind of wanted to, put a bow on this package and let it finish. But obviously we know because you have actors that are under contract, and they have more films that they have to make, and you have like standalone films that are just waiting for sequels. Your Black Panthers, your Captain Marvels, your Doctor Strange, stuff like that eventually they're going to have to hit them and do more movies or do the team up, Avenger-y type of thing. But because this was a big Avenger ending to this particular cycle of Avengers, they finally gave us the slate of what Marvel is going to look like. And what they did is they basically gave us 11 things to kind of look forward to. Plus, they teased a couple of other things without giving too much information. But as far as the slate goes, as far as the things, in what order are we going to see them, these are the 11 things that they're certain. Now, let's keep in mind that a long time ago, when they showed us the slate earlier on, they had to modify things, and they modified things a little bit. Some of them to the extent or the extreme, if you remember The Inhumans, which was supposed to be a movie that then later turned into a TV show that completely flopped. That was on that slate. And now we have 11 new things on the slate to look forward to. Now, if I remember right, Kyle, some of those original slates that they gave us, they went beyond 2 years. The slate we're looking at now, it is only a 2-year plus a bonus snapshot.
Last time they did something, like the biggest reveal they've ever done was, I think, right before they announced Civil War. At that thing. And so it was Civil War, and then they announced all the way up to Endgame, basically. But at the time it was Infinity War Part 2 is what they called it. Yeah. And they literally had I think that was basically 3 years, 3.5 years of stuff.
Yeah, it was longer.
Yeah.
This announcement will cover 2 years, which is 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
Like I said, with the little bonus of a little bit of 22. So the other thing that's unusual about this slate that we've never seen before is that it will combine really 3 different mediums: film, streaming service, not television, because television is something different. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which basically is about to end anyway, this material is not going there. This material is going into their streaming service, the Disney Plus.
Yes.
And there is one animated show also in that mix, which is, again, it's unusual because we've never seen something like this.
It's Disney Plus too.
Under the umbrella of Phase 4. So let's start with the first one, Black Widow. Now, no mystery here. We kind of knew already that this was in the works.
Yeah, they're filming it right now.
We've
seen set pictures like about a month ago.
Right. Even though whatever happened to Black Widow, spoiler alert, in the last Avenger film, this takes place, actually, didn't it say in the 90s or something?
Well, no, it said, it sounds like it's going to hop around.
Okay.
But it's most of it's supposed to take place like right after Civil War.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like it's going to be like Black Widow goes out on her own for a little bit. And then eventually she gets back with Captain America and them. But they're not going to cover that.
Right. This is more about her.
This is about her. And also they mentioned, I read there was like a trailer excerpt that some people wrote up, which is basically like they mentioned Budapest, which
and they showed, didn't they show some clips?
Yeah, they showed some clips. They showed her fighting this other girl who I forget what her name is, like Yelena, I think it is. But in the comics, that girl is also known as the Black Widow. I think it's supposed to be the older version of Black Widow, even though in this case she's the younger version of Black Widow. So this could be them leading up to maybe replacing her eventually with someone who's actually alive. But then there's also the bad guy is supposed to be Taskmaster.
What do we know about him?
In the comics, his powers is basically he has photographic reflexes, so he can basically copy everybody's moves. Like he can't copy people's powers, but he can copy people's fighting techniques.
Okay.
And so like in the trailer, apparently they showed him matching her fighting techniques, and he also. Do
we know who is this? Is this somebody we know? Is this
this isn't somebody we know.
But isn't the guy from Stranger Things in this movie?
Yes, but he's not that character. He's a different character.
Okay.
But Taskmaster, he also he has a shield like Captain America, but he also has bow and arrow like Hawkeye. And he has like swords, and he's trained in like everything.
Now, what's interesting about this film, or at least examining this story, is that, like you said, we're not dealing with superpowers here. Because remember, we have all these different flavors of superheroes, and there's a chance that this might be more up my speed in terms of, my favorite one is Winter Soldier, which, granted, you do have some, I don't want to call them supernatural, but super enhanced powers, but it's more of a gritty, hand-to-hand combat type of thing, which to me seems like this is where this might be going.
Yeah, this is going to be, they've been saying this is basically going to be in the same style
espionage, James Bondy kind of, feel to it, which is what she does most of the time when we do see her. We see her in those kind of missions, because again, when you combine supernatural superpowers out of this world with somebody who's just a good fighter, it's not a good match. You can't do that. It doesn't work too well because it's like snap the fingers and you win, no pun intended. So this will be the first one coming next year. So, we're already, starting pretty fast. Yeah. Any idea when this is coming out?
Well, yeah, it's May 2020.
Wow. So
this is the next movie.
So we have quite a bit to wait.
And next year, there's only going to be 2 movies coming out.
Oh boy! All right, so let's keep this in mind.
But also another thing, because you mentioned David Harbour, and he's playing Red Guardian.
Who's that?
He's basically Russia's equivalent of Captain America.
Oh,
we don't know if it's going to be apparently the way that they said it though. They said his name was also Alexei, which is also that character's name. So they might just be like, oh, this is that guy, and he's a Russian spy, but he's not necessarily Captain America. I don't think he has those powers. I think he just basically is the mascot, All
right, so this is going to be a summer movie, more or less, the beginning of the summer, let's say, which is, we're not kind of used to it. This is kind of slowing down as far as movie theaters goes. We're used to sometimes going 3, maybe 4 times a year. If things go a little nuts, but now we're going to 2 times. Okay,
well, it's just for this year, though.
Just for this year.
After every other year, they're going to go back to 3.
They're going to go back. Well, after this, the next thing they talked about was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now, granted, we know those characters. Now, how is the Falcon still the Falcon, or is this taking place in the past?
No, this is gonna be when he's Captain America. Like he's taking up the mantle.
Oh, so it's a transitional type of thing?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So that's why I guess I'm looking at the logo right now, and the logo says the Falcon, but then there's the Captain America shield.
He's been fitted for the costume too.
So okay, so it's him becoming Captain America.
Yeah,
and
then Bucky's with him, and they're just
okay. And this is television. I mean, this is streaming.
This is also this show is kind of going to be like a pseudo sequel to Civil War, because they're going to be fighting Daniel Bruhl's Baron Zemo, and Baron Zemo's going to have his mask now. Too, which they revealed at the convention. They had like a quick 10-second thing of him being like, yeah, I'm going to be in it, and then he just pulled on the mask.
Now, did I read somewhere that Frank Grillo's coming back?
I don't know about that.
Who does he play?
He plays Crossbones.
Crossbones, okay.
He came back for Endgame briefly, but as his past self, but I don't know if he's actually coming back for anything.
So this is technically the first of the streaming shows that they're going to do. Any idea when this one's coming?
To 2020, I think it was just around summer too. It's after Black Widow, so.
Okay, so this is different. Wow. This is also, if you think about it, even though it's already finished, Marvel Netflix is completely over, and they're kind of not acknowledging most of that.
Yeah, and they've officially basically decanonized it. It's not. There's no real connection to it anymore, which kind of stinks. But at the same time,
well, I imagine the only reason they would want to do that is because they're going to reuse those characters at some point.
Yeah, but it sounds like they can't for at least another year and a half now.
Right, but I mean, look at this. There's your slate. There's 2 years worth of stuff they're not touching.
Yeah.
So it's right there. Okay, so this is different. This is going to be a television show. Again, I don't know if they're going to just dump them all in one sitting, or this is going to be week by week. I don't know how they're going to stream this stuff. These are major characters, major actors, So, and again, I see it kind of more in the realm of Black Widow, because it's not supernatural, but there might be a little supernatural or enhanced, because now wait a minute. Falcon has no enhancements.
No, he just has his wingsuit.
But that doesn't work as far as him being Captain America.
No, he'll still have it.
Oh, so he's a comic. I don't know about. I don't know what happens.
Basically, well, I mean, in the comics, he basically has the suit, his wingsuit still, and he just has the shield too.
Oh,
so he has the wingsuit and the shield.
But he doesn't have the Captain America powers.
Yeah, and in the comics, he doesn't usually have guns too. But in the movies, he has guns with his wingsuit.
Bucky's still with his arm and his strength, because he has some strength.
Yeah, he has some of that superhero serum in him. Yeah,
interesting. And okay, you said this takes place after Civil War. Okay, up next, Eternals. What do you know about this? Because I have no clue what this is.
Okay. This is definitely one of their more obscure topics. Basically, they're kind of like how the Inhumans were created as like an alien experiment.
Okay.
These guys were created as an alien experiment by the Celestials, which we saw in Guardians of the Galaxy briefly.
Oh, was that Kurt Russell's character?
Yes, he's a Celestial. Yes, but there's other Celestials. Okay. They're called their creator gods, basically.
Okay.
And so they create these guys to defend Earth. So they're kind of like gods. Like in DC, there's the new gods. They're basically like the new gods.
Wow, this seems very risky. I think.
Yeah,
bringing something so fantastical.
Yeah,
that is completely. Completely. It's not very popular. Yeah. I've never heard of it.
This isn't going to be like Guardians of the Galaxy funny.
No,
space. This is going to be like some like Game of Thrones space type stuff.
So it's a little more realistic but fantastical, but not funny.
Yeah, it's like I'm sure they'll have some quips in there somewhere.
Is it Thor-ish, but not new Thor?
Like old Thor-ish.
Original Thor.
Original Thor-ish, we'll say. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. That's
I'm sure they're not going to go to Earth with this. This is probably something they're in like another dimension or another planet or something.
Now I did see Angelina Jolie is in this. Is there anyone?
Yeah, there's a bunch. So Richard Madden is Icarus. He's the main character in the Netflix show The Bodyguard. And he was also in the Elton John movie.
Oh, I love that show. That was a great show. He was in Game of Thrones too.
Yeah, the Game of Thrones. And then Angelina Jolie is Thena. Well, Richard Madden is Icarus. Angelina Jolie is Thena. Kamali Najani is Kingo. He's a
comedic actor.
Yeah, he's from the first episode of
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone, the remake. Yeah.
So he'll probably be like the comic relief, I imagine.
Yeah, and then Lauren Ridloff as Makari, and I heard that Lauren Ridloff, the character is deaf, I believe, and she's actually deaf too, which is interesting. That they're going to get a deaf actress to play a deaf character.
Yeah, well, that's a little reminiscent of Inhumans because you had a lead. The king couldn't speak because if he spoke, he would destroy things.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I guess this smells like Inhumans to me.
Yeah, it is. It's very similar. And
okay, well,
honestly,
maybe those surprises.
Yeah, there's still and then there's Brian Tyree Henry as Phastos. And then Salma Hayek as Ajak, and Ajak is the leader of the group, but she's not. I think Richard Madden is supposed to be like the main character.
And when is this supposed to come out?
Following. Hold on, there's still more, Dad. Leah McHugh as Sprite, and then lastly Don Lee as Gilgamesh, the Forgotten One. And then this is in I believe November of 2020. This is the second movie of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting that...
Yeah, November.
Wow, that brings... Whew, that's 2 movies and 1 TV show so far. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's all for 2020, because they said they were going to take a break kind of after Endgame just to... Like, they were going to slow down a little bit, and then they were going to catch up again.
Well, the next thing on the slate here is Shang-Chi. The Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, what is this, movie or show?
Well, this is the first movie of 2021, and literally everything from here on out is from 2021, pretty much.
Wow, it's like it's more than double the volume.
Yeah, he got what, 7 things there?
Jeez.
Yeah,
there's
7.
There's 8 more things. Well, in
7
2020,
and
7 plus 1.
2021.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about this Shang-Chi character.
So Shang-Chi he's an Asian superhero, and
they cast him already because I believe they announced it.
But yeah, he's basically like, to me, if they had made an Iron Fist show and they would have saved him for a movie, they would have probably put this as an Iron Fist movie. But Shang-Chi is like next to that, next to Iron Fist. You got Iron Fist and there's Shang-Chi.
Did they ever overlap? Did they ever cross those two characters?
They've all met before at some point. But yeah, so Legend of the Ten Rings, this is in reference to the Mandarin and his 10 rings.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a second, because during the films, we got to the point where the Mandarin was introduced, and then the Mandarin was fake. He was an actor pretending to be the Mandarin, blah, blah, blah. But then we kind of also found out that there's some real story behind the whole Mandarin thing. Yeah.
They said in the panel that, yes, they're going to introduce the real Mandarin.
Did they cast the Mandarin yet?
Yes, Tony Leung is going to be
the Mandarin. Know him?
I don't know him from anything, but apparently he's a big star in China.
Now, again, this is something it's nothing new. They're widening the scope, of their audience, obviously. They want to get as much as possible. And the Asian market has always been this thing that they want, and it's very hard to tap into it. You have blockbusters here in the States that don't make any money in China, and then a movie that's kind of mildly popular here all of a sudden explodes there. They're always trying to kind of find that formula, and this is an attempt, the way I see it, of possibly being able to bring in some of that international, money into this. But at the same time, you're expanding the entire scope, because you're dealing with characters that are not your A-listers. These are your B and your C-list characters that a lot of people never heard. Like, I never heard of this character before. Granted, I always say it, I'm not a comic book person, so I'm not very familiar. Did you know about him ahead of time?
Not really. Not until they announced that they were doing a movie.
But the fact that they're combining him with the Legend of the Ten Rings, that kind of like, okay, I remember the Ten Rings.
Yeah, that's going to boost it up, yeah.
This is 2021.
February 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, Wanda Vision. Now, when I saw the word Wanda Vision, I couldn't make the connection.
Yeah, the title's kind of dumb.
Because I thought it was like, it's some kind of new glasses you wear so you could see Wanda Vision.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb. I don't like the title, but it's okay. We'll work with it.
Explain the title.
Yeah, so it's Scarlet Witch and the Vision, and they're going to have their own show.
Well, what is Wanda?
Yeah, well, Wanda is the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Yeah. I don't remember that.
So they're going to have
Now this is a stream.
Yeah,
or
this is streaming. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be her and Vision somehow. They didn't say any plot details, and I'm assuming somehow she gets Vision rebuilt.
Oh, so this isn't going back in time like
no,
what they were doing while
supposedly
they were dating or something.
There's some sort of reality thing going on because Scarlet Witch in the comics, she has the powers over reality, and you see that in what she does. Like she manipulates the reality around her in the way where she like grabs people and pushes people.
Okay.
But I think what they might be doing with this in phase 4 is they're going to explore her powers of reality warping in terms of like changing the fabric of reality. So like just like different characters become different characters, like stuff like that. Like time manipulation, but it's not even time, it's just a change, and it's just weird stuff.
Well, this seems to be the streaming version of the fantastical, if you have the Falcon and the Winter Soldier doing the realistic, gritty spy stuff, kind of, this is more the fantastical side, to kind of go along. In other words, it seems like they're mimicking the same pattern that they're doing in the movies. They're going to try to do that on the Disney Plus. So I guess that's what we're dealing with, because obviously, again, spoiler alert, Vision, I believe, was pretty dead last time we saw.
Yeah, he didn't even show up in Endgame. He was gone.
Gone in
Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Yeah, you got his head ripped out. Yeah.
But, so that's an interesting one.
But yeah, and then also with that show, they're going to introduce Monica Rambeau as an adult, who we actually meet in Captain Marvel, who's the daughter of Carol's friend.
Oh, that little girl?
Yeah, the little girl. She's going to be grown up.
So this takes place in the future.
Well, in the present day, yeah. Because that Captain Marvel's from the 90s.
Oh, that's right.
So she's going to be an adult. Tiana Paris is going to be playing her.
Oh, this is so confusing.
And the people are thinking that maybe she's going to be the superhero Photon,
which is
what the role her mother actually, I believe, has in the comics. But she's going to be taking that role, possibly. That's the idea. They didn't announce it at the con, but that's the theory going around now.
But they already cast the girl?
Yeah.
She's already been cast? Okay.
Yeah. So she's going to be in that show with them. I don't know. It's very weird. I don't know how this is going to all factor together, but yeah.
Wow, that's another weird one. Up next, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Okay, this is an official sequel now, I guess, in this slate, the first official sequel that's obviously going to the movies this time around. What are we talking about here? You said Shang-Chi was in the beginning of the year?
Yeah, February.
And then Doctor Strange is what? Spring?
Yeah, May 7th, 2021.
Okay, and then Wanda Vision, what was that?
It comes out sometime before that.
So it's like a springy kind of...
Yeah.
Okay, so they're all kind of, I guess, a month or two away from each other.
Yeah, and supposedly Wanda Vision is... people are saying that it might lead into this movie because Scarlet Witch is in this movie too.
Oh, in the Doctor Strange
movie?
She's
teaming up with Doctor Strange, yeah.
Oh.
And so they're going to be exploring multiverse together for some reason.
Now here's a question. Are these television shows, and again, I'm sorry I'm calling them television shows, they're streaming shows, but they're television shows. Are they one shot, one season and it's over?
It sounds like they haven't announced a season 2 for anything, because literally every single one on that slate is a different one, and it sounds like it's like 1 year. So I don't know if they're gonna have season 2s for anything really, and if they do, it's like it's gonna be pretty couple years apart.
Because yeah, it would be interesting to know if these actors are locked in for multi-seasonal contracts.
Yeah, that'd be a little tricky, honestly. I think it's interesting, though, if they would do it only like one at a time. Because it's basically like, I think they're doing like 8 or 10 episodes for each show. So it's going to be like an 8-hour movie for each.
Yeah, that's
thing.
I keep hearing that nowadays when you're dealing with streamable shows, and it's like, think of it as a 10-hour movie, think of it as an 8-hour movie, stuff like that. That kind of makes sense because it also gives them the flexibility to say, for example, let's say Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then sooner or later, most likely, those actors are going to be in a movie. So you can't tie them to a TV show every year. So they might not do a TV show for 2 years and then come back a third,
Yeah, something
it gives
like
them that
I mean,
much space.
They all have contracts. Like I heard Sebastian Stan's contract. He still had like 5 movies to go and didn't even mention anything about the Disney Plus stuff.
And I wonder if those contracts are either or. Like, for example, a movie or a season of a show.
Maybe.
I wonder, because that would be really an interesting combination to have to figure out My God, it's just insane how these contracts could work. All right, so that's Doctor Strange, and I assume the bit players of Doctor Strange might show up. His assistant, not his assistant, the guy that takes care of things for him.
Oh yeah, Wong.
Yeah, him and you know, okay.
Maybe his girlfriend, well, his kind of girlfriend,
and maybe he should have a Thor cameo, because those two going at it is kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, because Doctor Strange was in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
All
right, so now we're moving through the spring, and now we have Loki, another television streamed show. Obviously, it's all about Loki, and we kind of knew this one a while.
Yeah, we knew it was happening, we just didn't know how, because he had died in Infinity War.
Whoa.
But then in Endgame, we see his past self escaping with the Cosmic Cube, and supposedly this show is about what happens after that to him.
That whole sequence.
So it's in an alternate reality where supposedly he goes back in time and manipulates events. So it sounds like he's basically just going to have his own little universe to screw up.
And this one, again, we're streaming. What month is this?
Yeah, this is summer.
Summer of 2021. Yeah. The same deal as before. You never know. This can go a season, could go. Any other characters that we know that are going to appear in this one?
No.
We don't know yet?
So we don't know anything else other than...
Okay, because we are getting kind of far into this slate now. The next thing I see on the slate is something called What If? And again, not only is this a television streamable one, but this is the first one that I mentioned way earlier about it being an animated show, which is something different.
Yeah, this show, it's supposed to be basically, so like What If is alternate realities, exploring alternate realities where, like, let's say, I know one of the things that has been like highly, like heavily, it hasn't been officially announced, but it's pretty much almost confirmed, is what if Peggy Carter was Captain America? So that's like one example, but there's like other things, like, I don't know, if Spider-Man had 6 legs or, stuff like weird stuff like that. That's what that show's going to be about. And they have Jeffrey Wright is going to be playing the Watcher, who's the narrator of everything. And then supposedly most of the MCU cast is going to be reprising their roles as their characters for this show, like doing voiceover work.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So this show, even though it's animated, it's technically canon to the MCU, even though it's alternate realities, but it's alternate realities based on the reality that we're mostly watching with the main MCU timeline.
Sheesh. Have they shown any samples of what this looks like? We don't know anything.
Not at all. They just showed the cast list, which is basically most of everybody. So
we don't know what style of animation are they going to be using. I wonder if Into the Spider-Verse has had anything to do with this.
No,
I'm talking about
that's Sony.
No, but I'm talking about the popularity of that movie.
I don't think
gave them the idea to say, let's do something.
I think it's going to be more like how most of those like superhero straight to DVD movies are, where it's like the 2D like animated stuff. It's gonna be like that.
You think they would do that for their channel? Yeah. You don't think they would try to do something new and different?
No, I don't think they're gonna invest that much money into this show.
Wouldn't this kind of thing suck the life out of like the Disney Channel, the official Disney Channel? Or
no. This show is probably gonna be more like this is something the fanboys would be more into. Like it's more of a, like, the kids aren't gonna be like, oh, I wonder what happened if Peggy Carter did blah blah blah.
Do they still make those comics? Do you know?
I think they do. It's like an on and off thing. It's like a seasonal thing, but it's like every couple years they'll start throwing out a couple more of those.
Okay, because this is all. I mean, right now this is the second.
Yeah.
This is the second television thing in a row we're getting now in 2021.
Like I know that they did like some examples of stuff that they could overlap with What If. Like I know they did What If Spider-Man was part of the Fantastic Four, which was like the Fantastic Five, but they could also maybe overlap like some other. They're not officially What If storylines, but they have like Marvel Zombies, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, stuff like that, or like Punisher kills the Marvel Universe, stuff like that.
Yeah, where the hell is Deadpool in all this?
Yeah, yeah. Supposedly they're gonna keep Ryan Reynolds and they're gonna keep that character doing his stuff. Just we don't know if it's going to be...
How to bring him in.
Yeah, we don't know if it's going to be the same Deadpool in terms of, like, is it the same X-Men Deadpool going to an alternate reality into this thing? Or are they just making a new Deadpool with the same actor? We don't know.
All right, so up next we have Hawkeye, another television thing. Now, again, this is 3 in a row here. 3 television properties. What is Hawkeye, summer or end of year?
Yeah, Hawkeye is, I think, closer to the end of the year. It's like fall. But that story arc, it's basically about Hawkeye.
Jeremy Renner?
Jeremy Renner's coming back, and he's going to be training Kate Bishop, who is like a protege in the comics.
Have we met her in the movies yet?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
But yeah, supposedly it's going to be based off of a comic series that they did I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, which I actually just picked up. Actually, I found at a discounted price. I haven't started reading it yet, but but yeah, it looks cool. It's supposedly one of the best. It's like the best Hawkeye comic run that they've ever done. Yeah. So, but yeah, we don't have any information about cast other than Jeremy Renner.
So that's going to be an insane year. There's 4 television properties that year, all spread out during the year. The year apparently will end with Thor: Love and Thunder, of which very recently they had announced that Taika Waititi. Yeah, good luck on that. Was returning to direct again. He was going to shelve his Akira. Production.
They had announced it like a couple weeks ago, and then like I remember hearing like right before Comic-Con, they said it, and then they also said that he was going to be helming Thor. I'm like, what? And then like 3 days later,
and then Warner Brothers is like, nah, we're going to hold off on this now. It's like, wow, I thought he was locked in already. But but I mean, it does make perfect sense. And I remember I kept saying, you know, after seeing Ragnarok, I'm like, wow, they make another one of these. Who's gonna make? How could they follow this up? They can't follow it up.
Yeah, it would have to be with him. Yeah,
and it's like you can't. You just cannot make this movie without him.
He's been working on The Mandalorian too. He's a director.
He's got a couple of episodes.
He's a voice actor too for that too.
It's all Disney, man.
He's really tight with Disney.
And I assume we're gonna see, you know, Big Thor. Maybe coming back to Skinny Thor.
Maybe, Well, yeah, it's supposed to be. Yeah, they've confirmed him. They confirmed Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie and Natalie Portman coming back as Jane.
But they also were saying something about her becoming Thor at some point.
Yeah, in the comics, Jane Foster becomes Thor.
And this didn't seem to be any kind of spoiler because they were kind of like talking about it.
I hope it's not like a permanent thing because like I mean I thought it was cool that they had Jane Thor, but I mean like we always like OG Thor, you know. Like it'll be cool to see her as long as they just keep it to the one movie. I think that'll be fun.
Well, they could do that. I mean, obviously, it wouldn't be the entire movie or probably part of the movie.
The fact that they also announced it too means okay, it's probably not going to go that long because Chris Hemsworth said he's like, I will do Thor forever.
Right? No, and she's not gonna. I don't think she wants to do these kind of. I mean, she didn't do the last couple. Yeah. More or less.
Yeah, this was a surprise, honestly, that she's coming back. But she was also in Endgame. She filmed a couple of little things for Endgame, which I forgot about because it almost looked like reused footage. Yeah, basically. But yeah,
and for a while those were the only announcements that we were seeing, and then all of a sudden, I mean, I remember you kind of gave up and started watching TV or something, and I'm doing something on my computer.
Yeah, I thought they were done.
I thought they were done too, and we should know better because they usually try to surprise you with something.
I forgot that they started the panel at 8:15, and I was like, oh, okay, it's an hour and a half, and it's already almost done, and I'm like, okay, all right, you know what, it's done.
I turn around and I look at a slate that comes up on my Facebook feed that says Blade, and I'm like, Blade?
Yeah, like Blade.
What the hell are you talking? And it said Marvel Studios. I'm like, holy crap! I'm like, Kyle, Blade. You're like, what are you talking about? Go ahead on your phone and go look it up.
Yeah, like Blade. I haven't seen the original Blade movies, which is something
you don't have to watch. Probably the second. You can only watch the first.
I heard all 3 of them are good.
They get a little stale after a while.
I heard Ryan Reynolds is in the third one.
He usually kills a movie. He used to kill movies, basically. That was his job, to come in and kill a movie, kill a franchise. But you should watch the first. But there have been rumblings about Blade ever since Black Panther came out. When Black Panther came out, Wesley Snipes started going on the air saying, hey, let's bring Blade back. You know, people want to see, you know, black actors in these lead roles. I got a character for you.
Wasn't Blade also like the first Marvel movie?
Blade was technically the first successful Marvel movie under Marvel.
Yeah.
And this was before Iron Man, and this was before X-Men.
Well, yeah, this is it was still under Fox though. I think they sold the rights to Fox.
I think it was New Line. It might have been New Line Cinema or something.
Really?
But it was an official, you know, Marvel character. It wasn't a very popular character, but the movie was very, very successful. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it was a successful movie.
Yeah, and the actor was Mashal Ali.
That's the guy they got. They got to do it now. He's won 2 Oscars, and they were saying something. I read something about how he's the one that requested a meeting with Kevin Feige.
Yeah,
and said, "Hey, would you be interested in doing this? And they're like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, he was the one that brought up. He's
Right.
like, I want to play Blade, and they're just like, okay.
I just hope.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes is gonna be pissed.
No,
though.
I just hope that they bring Wesley Snipes in some shape. Obviously,
he hasn't done anything though.
no,
has he?
he's been in.
heard-
He's had problems.
Yeah,
let's
I've
put it that way.
heard he's
and I don't know how much movies he's done since he's had his problems, but he has to come back for this movie. They got to give him not a cameo, but he could be like passing the
like
torch,
his father or something, maybe.
Yeah, he could
or,
be a
I don't
grandfather or a father
Yeah.
or some, or you know. But he has to be in this movie. He has to. There's no, and you're gonna have to go and sit down and watch it.
I haven't seen any
because
of them.
Blade was a pretty good damn movie for what it was. And I say, like I said, at the time, it was before all this renaissance. Because we talked about this before. People my age, you have three renaissance of superheroes. The first one was Superman, Christopher Reeve. That whole late 70s, 80s into Batman, all that stuff. Michael Keaton, Tim Burton, that was the first renaissance. The second renaissance was the X-Men. When the X-Men franchise started, that brought a whole other new interest into comic books. And the third one is Iron Man, which is this Marvel thing we're riding on, which you can kind of combine it with DC because those two have been kind of going together, moving forward. But in between the first and the second, right before X-Men, right around that time of X-Men, Blade is what really kicked it off. And I'm really glad. Now, unfortunately, this one is part of the 2022,
the phase
preview
5.
the beginning of Phase 5. So they got lots of time to do this one. So they're in good shape for that one, and we'll see who else they cast. Like I said, they gotta get him in there.
Yeah, and then they announced a couple other movies too that they're working on. They didn't give us details, but they just said
we knew this because of the fact that it was part of that Fox purchase.
Yeah.
So the fact that Fantastic Four.
Yeah, they officially said Fantastic Four are coming.
Yeah, they're coming. Of course,
and
they're coming.
X-Men, he said we don't have time to talk about the mutants, which is basically like, okay, so they are working on it now.
Of course.
But yeah, and then they also said, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But I'm sure, I guess they'll save it for next year.
And whatever other sequels, which is all these characters. That we just had a lot of them in the last couple of movies. So give them a break, let them rest, bring some new stuff, get people interested in some new stuff. Then that's basically where Marvel went this year. Now, we have a few more minutes left. Let's jump into a couple of other things. I know. Let's do this little quickie one. Around this time, they were also made an announcement that Brandon Routh, who is in Legends of Tomorrow now, but we know him from him being, I forget which number Superman he was. He was under the Bryan Singer film a long time ago.
The Superman Returns. Yeah, he played Superman.
Returns.
But in Legends of Tomorrow, he plays the Atom, Ray Palmer. Supposedly in the crossover that they're doing, the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover, they're gonna have him and Tyler Hoechlin, who he plays Superman already in Supergirl.
Right.
Him and Brandon Routh. Brandon Routh is gonna be playing Superman, but he's also gonna be playing the Kingdom Come Superman. He's gonna have the Kingdom Come suit, and because he already has some gray hair, so it's going to be perfect. Because in the Kingdom Come, he has gray hair because it takes place in the future.
And can they also cast Tom Wellington at the same time?
They haven't announced it yet, but they have to. They've been literally hinting at it so many times. They literally played the Smallville music during the last crossover. They have to,
shoot.
and they had Smallville Green Arrow lying dead in like ashes at one point. So yeah, they have to.
Did they get that actor? No.
It was
that actor's still around.
Yeah, I know.
One of those shows
it was just they just had it was just a guy in his costume lying face down on the ground, because it was the monitor was stepping over a bunch of the multiverse.
People. I haven't watched that Your Show in a while. If they do that, I'll watch those episodes.
Here's the thing. Honestly, you could skip most of the show stuff just to go to the crossovers and the crossover. I don't watch Supergirl anymore. Well, I watched the first couple episodes and I was just I can't. I have too many shows, and supposedly there was some leaked promo, or this was before, they still haven't officially announced it, but Black Lightning might be in the crossover still. We don't know about that, but I don't watch Black Lightning either.
They got to throw all their properties.
Then Batwoman is going to be in it. They're going to start her show in the fall.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if I'm going to try it, I think, because they also announced that the Batman villain Hush is going to be in it, who's really cool. villain, which that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. So I'm going to give it a try. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, DC has a couple of other properties that are continuing in the streaming service. You have Titans, Doom Patrol.
Yeah, they just announced season 2 for both of those.
Swamp Thing is gone.
Yeah,
which I started watching it, and I'm still very slowly watching it, and I'm liking it. I'm like, damn it, this show is dead.
Yeah,
why do I like a dead show?
Yeah, it's I like the first. I only got to watch the first episode, and I really liked it.
I'm into.
I haven't had time.
I think I'm like 3 or 4 episodes into it, and I like it because the horror part of it is pretty good. It's really not very. It's to me it looks like John Carpenter horror. Like
that's
the Thing
like
horror.
The first episode was basically
crap,
the Thing.
Can they do that? Is are you allowed to do that?
Well, this is DC Universe. This is
Right.
basically HBO,
Right,
So
but
they can do whatever they want.
It's a monster horror type of thing that I enjoy.
I like Doom Patrol out of all of them. Doom Patrol is the best.
I'm still going through Doom Patrol.
I love Doom Patrol, and I'm so glad they're renewing it.
Well, they're renewing it, but they're also kind of bringing it over to HBO.
Well, yeah, I think.
Max?
I think they're slowly bringing DC Universe into HBO Max, which is
that's
supposed
a
to be
whole
the
other
overall
weird thing
Warner
that they're
Brothers
doing.
streaming service type thing.
Yeah.
So
now the final one we want to talk about a little bit is one that hasn't even premiered yet, and Kyle is just going crazy over it, and that's because of his background of watching and reading the comic for Watchmen.
Yes, I am so like. Watchmen I believe, a lot of people think this too, but it's the greatest graphic novel of all time. And it's like Time Magazine thought it was like one of the top 100 things of like American novels of all time or something like that. Like it is that good. It is the greatest thing I've ever read. And I'm so excited that they're going to have this show, because this show, it's a sequel to the comic, and it's not going to alter anything. It's not, I know Zack Snyder's movie. I liked his movie too. I didn't like the fact that they changed the ending. But I did like the attention to detail, because I just think almost everything about that book is just amazing. And this show is going to be expanding on that while still honoring the source material.
Now, speaking of the source material, let's quickly go through this. They first put out a comic.
Yeah, 12 issues.
And what did they put on afterwards? Not the movie, but what other material was put out there?
So in the timeline of events, basically, so they had the 12 issues. They made that into a graphic novel like book, and then that was the thing that won a ton of awards.
Right.
Then after that, they did a couple years ago. They did it was called Before Watchmen, which was a series of like one-off issues where they did of like each of the characters and I think that the Minutemen, the other prequel things. Okay. And I read some of them. I didn't read all of them because honestly they weren't that good. And I think they also decanonized them too because they were kind of they weren't that good. They were just. They changed up the formula the way that they because Watchmen has like a 9-panel grid is what the formula they use, and for this they just treated it like it was a regular comic book, and that immediately just ruined half of the thing, because there's a way that you read Watchmen, and Before Watchmen they were trying to get you to read it in a different way that wasn't.
Was any of that pirate stuff part of this?
The Black Freighter was part of the original book, where it was basically it was a comic book within a comic book, where there's a kid reading a comic book, and it's called The Black Freighter, and it's supposed to kind of have to deal with how this guy is going through so much, and then in the end, even though he gets off the island, he's still like haunted, and he's still like living in this prison. Basically, like the world is still awful to him.
Because I remember you were saying that when they did, because I know they did when they did the movie, there was a director's cut, and then there was a special super deluxe edition that threw some of that.
Yeah, there was 3 versions of the movie. There was the theatrical version, which, I watched the theatrical version I think once, and I was like, okay. The director's cut is the best version because it has all the stuff that was filmed that was based off of the book, which is and most of what Zack Snyder shot is like he used the comic as a storyboard almost, and it was phenomenal. The director's cut's the best.
And what was the other one?
And then the ultimate cut has where he edited in the appropriate parts the Black Freighter as a motion comic within the movie.
Okay.
At the points where in the comic they would cut to the Black Freighter,
reading that book.
So they added that in, and in that you could tell they really tried very, very hard to like edit it in certain spots, and it was like okay. And I wasn't a big fan of the Black Freighter thing to begin with, anyway.
So this HBO show that they're putting on now, only the main comic is the source material.
Yes.
Okay.
They're not doing. I know they just came out with like a few years ago. They started Doomsday Clock, which is also a sequel to the source material, but it's where the DC universe and the Watchmen universe, even though Watchmen is still DC, they're crossing over, and where Watchmen, some of the characters are transported to the main DC reality. And so now you have Superman and Dr. Manhattan basically about to fight.
Now, is the original creator of Watchmen involved in any of this future stuff?
No. Alan Moore absolutely hates anything. Okay. Alan
Did he just retire or something?
Yes, he just retired from writing comic books. Alan Moore.
In protest of everything?
Alan Moore is a genius, but he refuses to let anybody touch anything, even though he signed the contracts for this stuff. So like in order to do Watchmen, obviously DC can do whatever they want when he wrote Watchmen.
Right.
And so they've been trying to make the movies, and he immediately was like, I don't want anybody to do the movies. He hates everybody, like the Swamp Thing show, because he practically created Swamp Thing, and he was all pissed off about that. He hates everything that he didn't make himself, which it's understandable, but at the same time, it is really good, you know? But he's not attached. He was never attached to anything. I mean, I'm sure he got like producer credit technically because he wrote the book.
Executive producer because it's his thing.
Yeah.
Now, this show, I believe the showrunner is Damon Lindelof, who used to, obviously he was the big guy, one of the big people around Lost. And then later he was involved in the show The Leftovers, which is funny because it was an HBO show, and I'm noticing some of the actors from Leftovers.
He started working on this show right after The Leftovers.
Yeah, so I am noticing in the previews that we've seen in the trailers that I do see some of these actors returning, so that's kind of neat. And that trailer is, it's just, my favorite thing about the trailer is Don Johnson. Sonny Crockett. He plays a police chief.
Wait, that's Sonny Crockett?
That's Sonny Crockett. That's Big Daddy from Django. Remember Big Daddy?
I never got to see Django yet. I haven't seen it yet.
I got to show you Django.
I have watched Django.
Oh my God, you got to watch Django. That's the guy that's Don Johnson.
Oh my God.
My friend who used to do shows with me, I might actually get him to watch it because of the fact that Don Johnson is on TV now.
Yeah, so...
But this is weird. What I've seen is like a whole bunch of guys dressed up like Rorschach, and I saw some similar things.
I think I can explain everything. Like, from the beginning of that trailer to the end of the trailer.
You got less than 5 minutes.
What? Okay. So they open it up with Hooded Justice, who was in the original Watchmen book. He was one of the Minutemen from the 1940s. He was one of the founding members of the founding superheroes, basically, of that universe. And it's Hooded Justice, like stopping like a store robbery, and it's that clip is supposed to be, you know how Black Freighter was a comic within a comic.
Yep.
Well, that's supposed to be a show within a show. So supposedly every episode of the show they're gonna have maybe 5 minutes from that show playing as part of the show. It's a show within a show.
But it's a show within a show, so people are watching this show?
Yeah. People are watching the show.
What it used to be
but we're also watching it too.
But they're watching it because it's a recreation of what it used to be like in the past.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like supposedly it's like a documentary. It's called like the Minutemen something, but it's like, I think they're gonna do something on the comedian too, like they recast a younger comedian.
All right.
Stuff like that. So
are they using any actors from the movie?
They're not. They don't want to touch that? They're not touching the movie.
Okay.
Even though honestly, in my opinion, it looks like you could still watch the movie, just kind of ignore how the ending is different. And you could move into this.
Hey, the movie could be a show that they're watching too.
Yeah, like the color palette is. The color palette is also very similar.
The real ones. Okay, we can kind of do something with that.
But yeah, so that's supposed to be like a show within a show.
Or watch them have some kind of comment of, oh man, Snyder fucked up our comic book, man. Something like that.
So this universe now. This is supposed to be in the present day, but it's still that alternate future because the original Watchmen comic takes place in like an alternate 1980s where Nixon has been president for like 4 terms, and people are starting to get sick and tired of superheroes, and Russia is going to bomb us, and everything's going to end in nuclear war. But at the end of Watchmen, Adrian Veidt, who's Ozymandias, he saves the world by tricking everyone into thinking that aliens are invading. And so everybody bands together basically and forms like world peace so they could fight the aliens that are not actually real aliens. He basically just threw a dead squid in the middle of New York City that caused a psychic bomb that killed everybody.
Yeah, but that was, I can understand why they did that for the movie, why they didn't do that for the movie.
Yeah.
And for the comic book, still, it was like
perfect. No, but it's good.
It's like, what the hell am I looking at here?
You gotta understand, there's Babastis, who's his lynx, his genetically modified lynx. It's like, that's like a hint during the whole thing, because it's a genetically modified squid.
I'm gonna have to reread this thing.
Yeah, you have to. I still have it here.
It's so wait, didn't I give it to you?
Yeah.
Oh, I gave it to you.
I've read it like 10 times. But yeah, so in the show now, in this present day, Ozymandias is still alive, but it appears like he faked his own death, because in the newspapers it says that he's dead.
Is that Jeremy Irons?
Yes, Jeremy Irons is playing Ozymandias. And so he still hasn't been, nobody really found out about what he did. But there's also bringing up the squid. There's a quick shot in the trailer where you see little baby squid raining down on cars, like as if there's rain. So I don't know what that's about. That's freaking me out. But then there's also like some more bigger things, like, so the Rorschach cult. Oh yeah. It looks like it's a bunch of rednecks that basically discovered his Rorschach's journal and is now treating it as if it's the Bible. And so they're all wearing the Rorschach masks, and they're shooting all the police officers because they're trying to force this new agenda and reveal the truth. Because in that journal, it's the truth about Adrian Veidt and what he did is in that book. And so they're treating it as if that's the truth, and it is the truth. But the world, the society as a whole hasn't accepted that. So they're causing like basically terrorism around. It takes place in Tulsa,
Oklahoma?
Yeah. So it sounds like this is like a new capital, because New York is basically just decimated.
That's right.
So maybe this is a new big city now.
Oh, wait, New York? Well, because Washington is different. It's not
this is like the new, not a capital, but the new big city.
Okay.
And so that's going to be the main issue, it sounds like, of the show. But yeah, so Don Johnson's character, he's playing like the police chief, but we also see him in Flying Archie, which is the floating ship that Night Owl has in the original
he's in
show.
that thing?
Yeah, he's wearing his cowboy hat, and we're thinking maybe that it could be that he's an older Night Owl. Well, Night Owl 2, because there's Night Owl 1 who is an old man in the book.
Right.
He could be Night Owl 2, which also leads into, because in the show we meet Laurie Blake, who is Silk Spectre 2 in the book, who is the daughter of the original Silk Spectre, and also there was like an illegitimate thing going on with the comedian. So she takes up his last name. But at the end of here's the weird thing though, at the end of the book, her and Night Owl are together, and they're like, they change their identities and they go into hiding.
Right.
But they're like a couple. They didn't get married, but they're a couple. But in this, obviously, it looks like they're not married. And so something happened where they're distant, but they are talking to each other, and they're kind of like in the previous trailer, you kind of see them talking to each other, and they're kind of like flirting with each other. But now that we know who the characters are, possibly it's like, oh, wait a minute, that could mean something. But then there's like these bunch of new characters, a bunch of new new heroes that are coming. There's Lookingglass, who's played by Tim Blake Nelson. He was in recently he did the what's that movie, the cowboy movie that was on Netflix?
Ballad or something?
Yeah, he was in that.
What about the Man in Blue?
Well, the Man of Blue, that's Dr. Manhattan.
Well, they tease him in this.
Yeah, there's apparently people are still like worshiping him almost like he's not necessarily, they haven't really gone that far, but people are like, there's like puppets of him and people are wearing his mask.
At the end of the trailer, somebody picks up a blue mask off the ground.
That could be Dr. Manhattan.
But then I could have sworn I saw a shot of like it was Mars or something.
Yeah,
and you see this
that's
little
definitely
blue,
Dr. Manhattan.
Tiny
and
little...
that looks like it's also present day, so we know he's out there still. Like in the original comic, he leaves to go out into the universe and create life and experiment with the world, because he's this matter manipulator. He can rearrange atoms. He's basically like a god. And so now people want him to come back to Earth, and it looks like he might be coming back to Earth, and we don't know why. We don't know what's going to happen. In terms of like how the plot is supposed to go, we don't really know what's happening. We just see this world, this setting, but we don't know what's the issue that's necessarily happening. Like, what's the main issue of the story going to be?
Well, this is a full-blown trailer. They did show, there was another teaser, I guess, before this.
Yeah, this was like a couple months ago they showed.
So when is this supposed to start?
October.
This year?
Yes.
Wow. So we might get maybe one more?
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, this was pretty big. It was like a 3-minute trailer.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be 10 episodes, but it sounds like it will probably be like the first week of October, so that way they can make sure that they finish it before Christmas, you know?
Well, definitely, I'm not as big a fan as you are, but I definitely want to see it. This is definitely a must-see kind of show.
I'm super excited because honestly, I thought this was going to be kind of dumb because I'm like, oh, I don't know. they're just trying to capitalize on it. I don't know, because I like Doomsday Clock too, which is the new comic they've been putting out, but it's also because they're telling it, and the way that they formatted the comic, it's the same as Watchmen with the 9 panels. So, and I've really been enjoying that, where basically Dr. Manhattan meets Superman and Batman meets Rorschach, and it's like this whole crazy thing. But yeah, this show, at first, when I first heard about it, before I saw any footage, I was like, I don't know what they're going to do with this, because I'm already reading this, but no, this is probably going to be better than the Doomsday Clock show.
They could, you never know. They could borrow from little bits from here and little bits from there, just to keep the fans like, oh, look at that.
Like there's one thing from the Doomsday Clock comics that I hope that they bring into this show, which is the Mime and the Marionette, which they basically were 2 criminals that were from that time period that Dr. Manhattan stops, but they basically are kept in prison and they escape, and they're causing havoc. They team up with the Joker basically at one point in that comic, and I hope that somehow they bring it into this, because the Mime is a really cool villain. He basically has like invisible guns and invisible knives and stuff, and I hope they somehow bring it into that, because he's really cool. I think they would have to be a little bit older though, technically, but it would be pretty cool for them. Well,
this is definitely something different, and it's definitely an HBO kind of thing. You could see it fitting HBO. This is the type of thing HBO can go a little, they can go a little crazy with.
Yeah.
With not too many restrictions, more of an adult type of show. Yeah, I mean, there's just way too much stuff out there. This is just so much. I don't know how the hell we're going to keep up with it. All these subscription services, all these cable channels, we're going to have to somehow keep up with it. But that should keep us busy for quite a bit. And again, this is just superheroes we're talking about. We're not even talking Star Wars or, God forbid, original stuff that, we haven't even heard of that exists. Some kind of an original movie or an original television show that can blow us away. But this is just the stuff we're aware of that we kind of already know. So I want to thank Kyle for joining me today. Thanks, Kyle.
You're welcome.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I'd like to thank Kyle for joining me today. We examined the Marvel slate that is coming up, pretty soon, as far as films and now television and animation, streaming services, that sort of thing. It is a different looking path that they seem to be taking this time. And they're expanding their outlets in terms of where they want to show their properties. And it's also a little bit of a slowdown period, coming off of the Avengers, Endgame, that kind of thing. It might also be a reaction to Star Wars 2. If you think about it, they don't want to glut the market, with too many movies in one shot. So I think next year, we're going to be seeing this little bit of a slowdown. Maybe it's a preemptive remedy in case, people get a little too overwhelmed with Marvel film properties. But instead, they are going to shift some of their focus to their streaming service. So that's interesting. That's an interesting strategy that they're about to take. Given that the following year, things seem to be ramping up again. So we're going to go through these periods, I guess. This might be the way to do it. You back off a little bit, you go strong. And you back off a little bit and you go strong. And we also looked at other stuff like Watchmen, stuff that my son is really looking forward to, some of the other DC properties. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Next week, we have something special planned you don't want to miss. It's going to look really good. And as usual, thanks for listening, and we will see you soon here at Geekfest Rants. Bye-bye, everybody.
This is a stick-up! Who are you?
Who am I? If I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't be wearing a mask.
There are people who believe that this world is fair and good. It's all lollipops and rainbows. We don't do lollipops and rainbows. We know those are pretty colors that just hide what the world really is. Black and white.
Soon thou shalt save us, and we will whisper, no.
We convinced ourselves that they were gone. But they were just hibernating. They came for everybody. All please.
Coordinated simultaneous attacks at the homes of Tulsa PD. So the cops hide their faces, and now the bad guys don't know where they live. And who doesn't want a secret identity?
Ta-da! People who wear masks are dangerous. We should be scared of them.
Why?
Because they're hiding something.
Lori Blake, FBI. You know how you can tell the difference between a masked cop and a vigilante?
No.
Me neither.
There was a vast and insidious conspiracy at play. If I told you about it, your head would explode.
Who are you?
Maybe, I'm Dr. Manhattan.
He lives on fucking Mars.
You curse too much.
Oh, shit!
Nothing ever ends. It's only just begun.
If you would like to subscribe to our show, send us messages, or see video links to some of the topics we talked about today, please visit our homepage at geekfestrants.com or our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or iTunes at Geekfest Rants.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
Geekfest Rants is produced by Carlos Perone, copyright 2019.
This broadcast is part of the IC Robots Radio Network. Visit icrobots.com for this and many other nerd/nostalgia related podcasts. You won't be sorry for long.